I guess I've been interested in genealogy for just almost all of my life. It's like doing detective work when you get started in it and things you have to look for. How many of you are in a lineage society now? Are you in Sons of the Confederacy? And you're in DAR? So it's nice to be in a group that you can work together and share information. So whatever time period that you're trying to find an ancestor, it's always good to learn the history of that time period. So these are just some facts about the American Revolution. And then the Patriots are not just based on being a soldier. There are different things that they've done. We had one member in our chapter that her patriot had sold whiskey to the American troops. I have one that sold pork and bacon to the American troops. So, and there are women. We have female patriots who, one of mine had a pasture that she let the American troops use. So they're just a variety of things. Can you see the slide?
Gotcha.
So the first thing you want to do is talk to the oldest relative. And at my age now, I only have one uncle that's still living, and so I need to be asking him as much as he remembers. But you want to talk to your oldest relative, you want to start making your family tree chart and start going through your personal records, and if you've inherited records from your grandparents, you want to look through those and start looking through websites and take a DNA test. Visit your local library, the archives, courthouses, museums, churches have church records and that are helpful to you, and cemeteries and funeral homes, newspapers, and then there's the Church Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have their history center, and join historical and genealogical societies. And then if you can't do it on your own, then go for a professional researcher. I like to make a timeline, and I know that's kind of hard, it's sort of small and you can't see it, but if you take one family line and start putting in their birth dates and places and how they're related to you, and then put in the different wars or any big events that might help you then to see which patriot, which person would be in that lineage society. So I'm a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and there's a new society, the National Society of Descendants of American Farmers, and then also the Daughters of the War of 1812. And then I'm also a member, and of course, those three, you have to get all the documents, you have to prove yourself all the way up to that person. And then I'm a member of the Bemis Historical Society, Midwest Tennessee Genealogical Society, and I just recently joined the Wake County, North Carolina Genealogical Society. They're online, they have a really good website. While everybody's in quarantine, this is a good time to visit these different societies online. You can get in their Zoom meetings, and you can see presentations, and so that's what I've enjoyed doing during the quarantine. And then there's a group for American Rose of the Riveter. My mother and my grandmother worked at the Bemis Cotton Mill during World War II, so they qualify for that status. And then these are the 5 patriots that I have actually proven. Jordan Woodward was a soldier, and then his father, Christopher, is the one who sold pork and bacon to the American troops. And then Daniel Murphy. These 3 are all from North Carolina, and they were through my daddy's family. And the ones on the other side are through my mother's family. Jesse Hodges had a wagon, and when he was off in the war, they needed a wagon. So they sent him back to his home in Virginia. He got his wagon. They sent a couple of guards with him, and he came back to fight with his wagon. So he's recognized for patriotic service and for being a soldier. And he ended up moving to McNairy County, Tennessee. And then his mother-in-law, Mary Collins, is the one who had the pasture that the American troops used. And the way that I found out about the Hodges, I knew I had a Hodges line, but at my genealogy society meeting one night, I talked to this gentleman from McNairy County, And he's the type of person that doesn't forget anything, and he knows all about McNairy County. And he said, "Are you related to the Hodges, the old Jesse Hodges?" And I said, "I don't know. My grandmother didn't know that much about her line." He told me enough that day after that meeting that I went home and started researching Jesse Hodges. And from that, I was able to find myself 2 patriots and prove them. And I was so excited. So go to your genealogical and historical society meetings, because you never know who you're going to meet and what they know that they can help you. This is a list of some documents that you will need to prove your lineage to these each generation. And sometimes they're not easy to find. You have to really start searching for it. One that I just added to my list yesterday was needlework and samplers. And that was a program that I found online, I think, through the state of Tennessee, because the ladies made the samplers way back years ago, and they'd have their name on it, and either their birth date or when they got married or something like that. Well, that's a historical document. So just remember all the different things that you can find that would have name, date, and the place, because you need to prove birth, marriage, death for a lineage society. These are just 2 pages from one of my DAR applications. And you'll see that the genealogists, they like to write all over them, don't they? They'll make little notes on what they use to prove different generations. So the little check mark is a good thing, because they're saying that's correct, that I provided a document to prove that. You'll see where it says BC, that means they use birth certificate to prove those generations. They use a Bible record, the 1880 census, the history of Scotts Hill, Tennessee, and then the very last one, the number is another lady's DAR member number, because she had the same patriot I did. And so rather than me reinventing the wheel to prove Jordan Woodward, I was able to connect to her. So and I'm going to show you DAR in just a minute, their website. But you can if you're lucky and you already have somebody that's been in one of the lineage societies, you can connect to theirs. Helps you out a little bit. So this is my information for my generation. My birth certificate, my marriage license, and the one in the middle, I actually found that online. You know, when we went to the courthouse and signed to get my marriage license, that's online now, and Ancestry.com. I found my birth announcement in the Jackson Sun and newspapers.com, and then, of course, my certificate of birth is what my mother got from the hospital. If you don't have your school record, you should get it. I just happened to meet the Southside principal a few years ago at a concert, and the symphony concert, and I'd never met him before, but I was telling him I was from Southside, and he said, "Do you mind if I look up your transcript?" And I said, "No, that's fine." So he looked it up, and then he mailed me the copy. I'd never seen that before. So you know how when you're in school and the teacher would threaten you if you were doing something wrong, that's going on your permanent record. Well, they were right. I mean, there's your permanent record.
Stays with you for life.
And the number, that's not my social security number, that's the number on my birth certificate. So all this information here, my parents' full names are on there. The doctor who delivered me, his name is on there. And then the man who was my doctor as I was a senior in high school, his name is on there. And the doctor who did my first grade exam when I started to school, Dr. Kelly Smith from Venus. So, and yeah, here's his name. It says I was 6, but I hadn't really had my 6th birthday yet. Has my height and weight for my first grade exam. And then this is the next page for my school record. I covered up my grades because I didn't want y'all to think I was such a genius.
I had the wire.
But you know, I didn't even know that I didn't have that picture, because when the senior pictures came out that year, the girls had the drape on, and so that was another school picture they took that year, and I just didn't buy it. So here are all the teachers that I had in elementary school and in high school, and here are my achievement test, the scores from that. We had 112 in our class. I graduated May the 23rd, 1968. And it told my rank in the class, and I don't remember now what it was, but it was better than what I remembered it being, so. Let me go back a minute. If you went to a school in Madison County, you can go to that website and you can go to your school and find the copy of the record, the transcript form, fill it out, send it into your school, and then they'll mail you a copy. All the schools that consolidated into Southside, their records are there. So Melissa's High School, Bemis, J.B. Young High School, Pinson, Mercer, all of those went there. So even like my daddy went to J.B. Young High School, so I got a copy of his record and then had that. This is just an example of my 6th great-grandfather. This is a copy of his will, his last will and testament, and it has his children listed in it, and so that's a document that you would need to prove him to his children. And the names that I have listed at the bottom, I'm giving credit to the people who helped me get to this point. Gordon Turner wrote the History of Scottsville, Tennessee. Ms. Baker is a wonderful lady. I found her online one day. I did a Google search for the Woodward family, and I found Frances had a website for the Woodwards, and on there she said that Miss Baker had vouchers that showed that Christopher Woodward had sold pork and bacon to the American troops. So I found Miss Baker online and with her phone number, and I called her. She lived in Texas, a wonderful little lady, and she ended up writing a big book about the family. She was so sweet, and then she sent me the vouchers, and she had tried to prove lineage to Jordan Woodward and never could get through and get it proven. So when she gave me those vouchers, I sent it in and we got him proven as a new patriot. So by all of us working together, we were able to prove another patriot. The Shelby County Register of Deeds, I use the Tennessee Vital Records a lot. You can look on there, well, let's see, I got married in 1984, so it will show my husband's name and my name on there. And so death, divorce, and marriage records are very helpful when you're looking up things related to society. And all these other things are just very interesting that while you're in the quarantine, go to that website. It's on my sheet that I passed out. And these are the people that I was just talking about who had helped me with the different things. Tex Harrison. The way that I found him is my mother and I had both taken a DNA test through Family Tree DNA. And I was trying to find out information about the Redwine family. My grandmother didn't know anything about her maternal grandparents. But I was able to finally find out that my grandfather's name was Albert Johnson from Arkansas. His wife's name was Era Ann Redwine. So my grandmother had always said that we had some Native American blood. But you know, a lot of people say that, and that's hard to prove. So I thought, that sounds like a Native American name. Redwine really sounded Native American. So my mother matched with one person named Redwine. So I emailed the person in charge of the account, and it was Tex Harrison. So he was so nice. He gave me so much information. And he said, Redwine is not Native American, it's German. The name really started out being Rithwell, I'm not sure how you would pronounce it. But by him telling me that and giving me enough information got me started on, another line, and I was able to just explore and really expand greatly my maternal line. And the little lady at the bottom, Melba Wells, she's in her 90s, and she recently posted her life's genealogy on Ancestry. She said her children didn't care anything about it, so she put it out there for anybody that's interested, and it was valuable to me. Gordon Turner, for a while, was the mayor of Scottsville, Tennessee, and he worked at the Tennessean newspaper also, but he started working on the history of Scotts Hill, and his wife, they worked on it for several years. Finally came out in 1977, and I had the honor of going to Scotts Hill and meeting him, and he signed my book. But when he started his research, he mailed this out to, I don't know how many people, but this came probably when I was about the time I was graduating from high school. And I thought it was so neat. He wrote in the top corner, "Keep this." So look how long I've had it. But he wrote on there where my line was and where his line was. And my sister and I thought it was so cool that we have an ancestor named Phoebe Allen. We thought that name was so cool. I remember us saying, "I'm going to name my daughter Phoebe Allen." This is one of the pages out of the information that Melva Wells put on Ancestry. And it's just so valuable to me because my great-great-grandmother had died at a very young age, and that's why we didn't know anything about her. And then her mother had died at a young age. But there are several generations right there that have been wonderful to me. For the Daughters of the American Revolution website, you can go on and see our records for free. You will not see the first 3 generations for privacy reasons, but after that, like, you would not be able to see my 3rd generation, my grandparents, but then when my niece joined, my grandparents were her great-grandparents, so you can see them now because of that. So you want to go to dar.org, you want to choose GRS, check the Ancestor tab, enter the last name that you're looking for. That's all you need to do, put in the last name. And then you'll get all these, like I did Hodges, so you get a lot of Hodges. So then if you want to narrow it down and put Jesse Hodges, well, you may get several Jessies. So then you can put Virginia in and it narrows down. And sometimes they'll use different spellings. So like the name Smith, you can spell it a couple different ways. So sometimes you have to look for a name spelled a different way. So you'll see where my number is circled here. This is where I proved Jesse Hodges through his son James, and then the other people joined after me. So they're in the order of the way that we proved our lineage to him. So my mother was the next. Now I had mother to prove him first, and then I did mine. And the reason why I wanted mother to do first, I'd already proven Jordan Woodward. So by getting mother to do it, if we didn't prove him, then they would have let mother change to another patriot. She wouldn't lose any money. If I had tried to do it as my supplemental application and I didn't do it, I would have lost my money. The Sons of the American Revolution. You want to go to SAR.org, go to the genealogy tab, Patriot Research System, and then the Patriot Search, and then just start putting in a last name that you think that you might have had at that time. So you can see that my Jesse Hodges is on their list. My brother joined, so he's one of those names, the one with the box there. Okay, this is just an awesome thing that the Tennessee State Library and Archives has on their website now. You can click on one of those little points and it will show you your that particular ancestor. It shows where they came from, where they moved to, and there. This is just another screen from that same website, and it's just showing Jesse Hodges lived in McNairy County. So when I just clicked on him, it shows you that he came from Virginia down to Tennessee and the different stops he made along the way. He lived in Sumner County for a while, and he was one that signed a petition to form a new county, so then Wilson County was formed. Then he moved on to, he was in Henderson County for a little while, and then McNairy County. Family Tree magazine is a really, really good magazine. I don't usually subscribe to magazines, but one of my friends gifted me the subscription, and it is wonderful. So if you want one for genealogy, that's a good one. Fold 3 is a good website to look up your patriots of all the different wars. And this is a pension interview with Jesse Hodges that I found on Fold 3. They asked them where they were born and where they lived, who they fought with, and a lot of different information. Now, Fold 3, you have to pay to be on that.
Mm-hmm.
Southern Campaign is a free website and very interesting where you can look up the pension interviews. This is one from Daniel Murphy, who ended up in Decatur and Henderson County. And I saw there was one document from him where he had marked an X. And then I saw others where he had his name really nice. And another one where it looked like he had trouble writing it. So you'll see where I bolded it, it's saying that he had palsy. So that's why on one document he had just put an X, and then another one that his handwriting had trouble with it. So I kind of got in this little project of collecting signatures. So you can find a lot of signatures on the Southern Campaign pension. And then these are documents that when Daniel Murphy was moving to Tennessee from North Carolina, he needed to get his pension transferred to Tennessee. So Charles Austin, Justice of the Peace, helped him. And so the cool thing to me is Charles Austin was my 4th great-grandfather and Daniel Murphy was my 5th great-grandfather. And I think they were connected by Charles's son married Daniel Murphy's granddaughter. And land grants are helpful. They have some different information in there. They're not really going to connect you to the next generation, but they're going to give you names, and they will usually tell you who you live next door to, and so that can be a clue. And what I really like about this one is it says that Daniel Murphy, his property was on the waters of the Tennessee River. And this monument is at the Decatur County Courthouse, and his name is on it, so they have their American Revolutionary War patriots on it. And my friend was visiting there and doing some research. She saw it and knew he was my patriot. Because it took me forever to prove him. So everybody knew I was working on Daniel Murphy. And I talked about him so much. Also, he's in this census of pensioners, and he was residing with his son at that time in Henderson County. I think he was 78 years old. And I got that on Ancestry. I think I found this when I just did a Google search for him. So Google is easy to do. This is actually where I found a James Hodges that I think might have been the father of Jesse, so I'm still trying to work on that. Jordan Woodward, like a distant cousin that we've been discussing, Jordan Woodward, he found this death announcement in this old newspaper and sent it to me. And then when I had some cousins who were then joining DAR through Jordan Woodward after I had already joined, we were able to use this and improve his information in the DAR website. So that's why when you're going to do an application, you want to look at the last application that joined through that person. He was a good man, it says, but not a member of the church. In the United States Daughters of 1812, you can go to resources of Ancestry database and you'll find my James Hodges, the son of Jesse. So remember that if you have a patriot in the War of 1812, there's a good chance that his mother or his father either did patriotic service or served in the American Revolution. Likewise, if you have somebody in the American Revolution, then their son or son-in-law might have been in the War of 1812. So look at both the generations. That's just another screenshot from the 1812 website. Newspapers.com is wonderful. You have to pay for it, but you can get a week free. You can do a 7-day trial. You have to put in your credit card number to be able to do that. But pick a week where you're abiding by the quarantine and not going anywhere, and just spend all your time looking for things. I mean, you will find things about yourself. You'll find things about your parents. You already do newspapers.com?
Oh, I use all kinds.
I know, isn't it? It's wonderful.
One of the things about that I didn't know about.
I know. So I've been researching my Shadrach Eason and Charles Austin from North Carolina. I have no idea if those are my ancestors that I have underlined, but I found that, and there are a lot of names there, so that was good. And my parents got married in West Palm Beach, Florida. My mother was from Lou Ray, Tennessee. Daddy was from Bemis, Tennessee, but he was in the Coast Guard, and his ship was docked for a while, and Mother rode the train in, and they got married. So I found her marriage license online. I also found that I had a birthday party when I turned one. I didn't know that, because my sister was turning 5. And so we had a birthday party together. And so I called my sister and I said, did you know we had a birthday party when you turned 5 and I turned 1? She said, yeah, it's in my baby book. Well, you're the second child, you don't get a baby book. You don't get the newspaper clippings. And the reason why I have this one on here is just to remind you to look for your name spelled different ways, because in this, my middle name, Ann, A-N-N, was just spelled A-N. And so you have to spell the name the way they have it, or you're not going to find it. And Chronicling America is a free website, and it's very interesting. I didn't put it on here, but I found the other day where they were talking about the Confederate monument on Madison County's Court Square. There were articles telling about the people raising money to have the monument put up, and they were having bazaars and selling food and all the different things they were doing. And then I also found the article telling that Memorial Day, 1888, is when they were going to put it up. So you can find a list of soldiers. What I did here is I just searched for soldiers. I narrowed it to a certain time period. So where you see the red bars, that's where the word soldiers is. And Google. So I Googled my husband's grandfather. So my husband's name is Connie Marshall Williams III. So I found things for my father-in-law and my grandfather-in-law. And so all you have to do is put the name, Google your own name, put it in quotation marks, because if you don't, you're going to find every article out there that has A. Connie, A. Marshall, and A. Williams in it, scattered throughout the article. So you can start out by just doing the name in quotation marks. And then you can narrow it down by putting in city and state, or American Revolution, or World War I, or whatever. So when I Googled Connie Marshall Williams, I found a link to this book. And so that is my husband's grandfather. And the book is online for anybody to look at it. And so it had his name. It said Connie Williams, Lexington, Tennessee. He was a sergeant. And so it told what platoon he was in. So there he is. And we're like, okay. I asked him, I never met him, but I said, is that your grandfather? And he said, yeah, it has to be. It looks just like him. So how cool is that? A Google search, and I found a book telling all about his platoon. Okay, find a grave. If you're not already doing find a grave, you have to do find a grave. And it's free. Ancestry.com owns it now, but it's free because volunteers are the ones putting the information on there. So this is my grandmother, her siblings and her children, her husband, her parents. So if you click on her, pick her mother's name, click on her mother's name, and then I have it where on that lady's memorial, you can click on her mother, her father, and it keeps taking you back to the next generation. So this would end up taking you to my 4th great grandmother, Phoebe Allen Woodward Austin. and she's buried at Granny Austin Graveyard in Henderson County. And then she is the daughter of Jordan Woodward. So if you click on her father, it takes you to this one. We don't know where he was buried. We just know that he was in North Carolina when he died, because you saw the obituary a while ago that said Anson County. They have the wrong county there, but it will end up getting you to a patriot. So you just sit down and start clicking through those, and you might come up with one. Pinterest is one that you just may happen to find something on there. If you want to Google the American Revolution or War of 1812 or something, and you might get lucky if somebody has posted some of their information there. For social media, I have several different Facebook groups. For my Holloway family, I have cousins all over the United States. We're second and third cousins, and we've just been having a really good time on there and sharing old pictures and sharing memories, because we all descended from the Holloways, who had 5 daughters, and so it's been great, especially if you can get some of them to help you with research. DNA Detectives is an interesting site that people are usually on there saying, I just found out that my father was not my father, and people will help them to research and help them find who their father was. My family tree DNA. This shows where I'm from, and I do have some Native American, so I was happy to see that. And you want to get different people in your family to take the test too. So my mother took the test the month before she passed away. And then my cousin Susan on my daddy's side took the test. So by having somebody on my maternal side, somebody on my paternal side, then on the next slide is going to be a family tree. I was able to link those people to my family tree, and by doing so, it shows at the top paternal matches, because the ones that Susan and I have in common then show up as my paternal matches. And then since Mother took the test, it shows my maternal matches. And then you'll see that I have 15 people that are both. That's because my sons are related to me through both of my parents. And I took the test also through Ancestry, and you can upload it for free to Family Tree DNA. So that's why I'm on my own match list. So my sister took the test, and then these are like first cousins once removed here. And so the reason why you want to take this test is you'll find more people that are going to help you, like I found the red line through that.
Kathy, how accurate, I know I've done one with Ancestry. I see some that I think people have wrong family trees on, they just link to people.
Yeah.
Does that affect the DNA results?
No.
Or is it still comparing actual DNA?
Yeah, when you're on Ancestry, you don't pay a lot of attention to some of those trees on there, because people think they know what they're doing and they don't. So you just kind of use it as a guide to say, well,
So
they
if
think this was our great-great-grandmother, but no, I don't think
So
so.
if it still connects us together, I'm suspicious some of them are not accurate. Is it looking at DNA and their tree they're treating?
No,
So
it's
it's
not
just
looking at their tree, it's just looking
just
at
at the
DNA. Right, for the family tree DNA test, you just swab the inside of your cheek. They send you 2 little things, and you swab the inside of one cheek, and then you put it down the vial. Then you swab the other side, and then the one for Ancestry, you have to spit in this little vial, fill it up. So no, they're not looking at your tree at all, at all. Yes. So that's my tree on Family Tree DNA. It's not a great tree, it's kind of hard to do, but I had to start adding like my mother's aunts and uncles in, just so that I could get the people in there who matched me. These are my results from Ancestry. So you can see I pretty much have the same results as far as where I was from. It also shows some Native American. It showed that I had 2% Native American until they kind of redid the thing, and then it shows 1. But then here are my top matches. But you'll see that back in December, you can see how many that I had, and then today, I have 131,613 matches. But out of those, my close matches, 5,991. It's amazing. So what I started doing is I started contacting all my top 30 matches. Just if I didn't know how we matched, I'd send them a message through Ancestry to say, do you know how we might happen to be related? And then I would add them to my tree. So that's what the little symbol is, little blue symbol is, that I have actually added them to my tree. So like Hazel Haney is a first cousin once removed to me, but she was my daddy's first cousin. Linda was my mother's first cousin. Julie, her daddy was my first cousin. So yeah, it's just amazing. And then when you find somebody that they say, I was adopted, I really don't know, or I've just found out, and then you're able to tell them a lot of information about their family. There was one man from Brooklyn, from New York, and he was adopted, and he had found out who his parents were, but then he didn't really know that much about his extended family. So he's an attorney in Brooklyn, so I'm visualizing this big high-rise that he's in or something, and he descended from my Clenny family in Decatur County and Henderson County. And that book, The History of Scottsdale, there's a picture of those Clennys standing there. They've been coon hunting, and they're holding. I'm really tempted to send it to him and go, you need to frame this and put it in your office. So you never know where your family history came from. And that's just part of my tree and ancestry. That's my maternal line, paternal line. This is my maternal line. I know you can't see it very well, but Melva Wells, the little 90-year-old lady who shared her information, there is one of my ancestors. Her last name is Teach or Teachy. So Miss Melva said that we might be related to Blackbeard the pirate, because his real name was Edward Teach or Edward Teachy. So I'm claiming kin to Blackbeard. You just never know. And this is just another line, just to let you see. These are some of my Scottsdale lines. If you find out you had anybody from Scottsdale, I assure you, you're related to everybody there. And in the DNA test results, I looked through my family tree DNA list, and one of my friends had taken the test, but she used an alias, so I didn't catch her. But I like to sort my list by mailing address on the family tree. So then I put them in alphabetical order, because then I can see who is taking care of several accounts. And so I think, well, if that person is managing several accounts, they probably are really interested in genealogy, and they may reply back to me. So as I scrolled down, I came across, I knew it was Sherry's address. So I emailed her and I said, is your mother's name Betty Carr? And she said, yes. And I said, we're cousins. I mean, we've been friends for 7 or 8 years. We had no idea we were related, and we still don't know how. But just look at everything on the results that you get. It's harder to contact people on Ancestry, because if they're no longer on Ancestry, then you can't get in touch with them. Email addresses are not there. This is just something I found last night. It is not on my list of websites, but trying to figure out how many times you're a cousin, just Google that or look on Family Search. That's where I found it. It's really good. So I uploaded my results to GEDmatch. Have you watched the show on Tuesday night with Cece Moore, the genetic detective, I think is the name of it? It comes on at 9 o'clock. If you missed it, you might be able to see it some way through ABC. But if you have Hulu, they're showing it on there too. But Cece Moore takes genealogy results, and she's helping police departments solve murders and rapes and things by using the DNA. So when you upload to GEDmatch, you have the option of saying if you want the law enforcement to be able to see your results or not. And I said yes to mine. So I uploaded mine from both Ancestry and Family Tree, my husband, our 2 sons, and my mother are all there. And what it does is it gives you 3,000 matches. So here's just the first part of my 3,000. And then you can click on that person's number and you can see their list. So that might not really help you find a patriot, but it's just interesting. Also, just to, this is probably not going to help you find a patriot either, unless we're related. But I've just been fortunate by finding cousins and talking to different people to find pictures of some of my ancestors. And Jacob Taylor, I found that one the other day. Frank, he would be related to you too. But he was in a book that I've had for 20 years, and I didn't even really realize he was in that book till just a couple of weeks ago. So those are what I call my fathers, and then my mothers. Of course, they're not as many of them. The men had their picture made more often than the women did for different things. So this is my last slide. So just interview your oldest relatives, join a genealogy or historical society, subscribe to Ancestry. I know it's not cheap, but you'll find a lot of ancestors that way. Just sign up for a year and start your family tree. At first, I didn't want them to own my tree, so I just had it on software on my computer. And then finally, I was really trying to find some information on one of my lines, so I just put the ESA line in there. And I started getting all this information, all these hits coming. So I started adding another line, so pretty soon it was like, my computer could crash, and I could lose all that. And then also, if my sons don't care anything about this, I should be like Melba Wales and put my information out there and let somebody use it who could take advantage of it. Take a DNA test and then research. My email address is on the bottom of that sheet, so if you have any questions and want to contact me later, that'll be fine.